Okay, so I think this one's going to be a bit controversial, but anyway. So what I'm talking about today is the fact that a lot of people focus on how much money they make in the online business space. People say I make 10K, 20K, 50K, 100K per month, right? And that's true. They do make that money. That money is coming into them, but they're also making a little bit of a white lie, and I'm going to explain why. Now, when you see two people that are making, 10K per month or 100K per month, for example, oftentimes these people are not in the same scenario. They are not making the same amount of money, and they're not actually keeping that. So the money that they can use for their personal expenses or reinvest into their business, or money that they actually have access to at the end of the month, is completely different many times. And so this is because a lot of people in the online space care an awful lot about the top line numbers, the revenue that they make on the business. Whereas oftentimes, in the online space, it's a cash flowing business. The amount of revenue that you make is completely irrelevant oftentimes, because it doesn't really dictate the amount of profit that you're making there. You can have a business, like I say, that makes 100K a month, but in actual fact, they're only keeping like 10K of that, right? And so they have a relatively decent sized business for the online space, but it's not the same as someone who's making 50K and keeping 90% of that, keeping 45K of that, right? And so in a scenario like that, where you have like such a huge discrepancy, there's many reasons for this, and I'm going to explain why this happens, and I'm going to explain how you can avoid it so you're not in the situation where you are doing those razor thin profit margins, considering relative to the online space. But I think the reason this happens and a lot of people focus on revenue and those big numbers is, one, it helps with clicks, right? If you can talk about that you make 100K per month, right, it sounds amazing, and you can really start to improve your personal brand that way. But secondly, that's how most other businesses work, most other industries. If you look at the corporate world, if you look at retail, if you look at tech or anything like that, all they are talking about is revenue. Amazon is talking about how many billions they did in the last quarter. Meta is talking about how much increase in revenue they've had. It's very, very rare that they're talking about we've done this amount of profit, right? And the reason for this is because they have investors, shareholders, they have the board, the analysts, all those people to impress, and they just want to raise the share price, because that's ultimately all that matters. When Mark Zuckerberg is looking to make money, he doesn't try to increase the amount of profit that Meta is making. Of course, that is, there's some kind of consideration, but his number one thought is, how do I raise the stock price? How do I do something which is going to convince people to buy the stock and to value the stock more? Because that's how they make money, by selling the actual business. They want to create an asset. When we're in the online space here, it's very, very difficult, or a lot more difficult. It's not, incredibly difficult, but it's much more difficult to create that asset. Oftentimes with online businesses, we are looking for cash flow business. We want to make money quickly. We want to make 20, 30, 40K profit every single month, and we want to keep that, right? That's the point of this. Many people who are in the agency game, the online space, the consultancy game, whatever it is, you're looking to make X amount of money for the next, 5 years or so, and then leave the space and do something else, right? Maybe you want to buy some property or start a hedge fund or something like that, right? So when we're talking about numbers in the online space, it's very, very, very easy to fall into the trap of 10K a month, 20K a month, and refer to the amount of revenue that you're making. Because I've run businesses in the past where, we've done like 20K in a month, and we've kept like 25% of that, right? And in some businesses, some industries, that would be fantastic. But in the grand scheme of things, if I'm only pulling home 5K a month, I can't have the lifestyle that I want. I can't do the things that I need to do. And so it doesn't really make sense to run a business that is making 20K a month with 5K a month profit, when I could probably go out and make a business that does 10K and keep all of that, right? And so this is where you need to be careful. And so because of that, you can quite literally have someone who is making 20K a month, or a business model that makes 20K per month that is far, far, far worse than a business model that makes 10K a month. And so when you see, someone, I do 20K a month, or someone says, I make 30K a month, whatever, you need to go a layer deeper. You need to understand how that business actually makes money and what the profit margins are. Now, it's very, very difficult to know this if the person doesn't actually just come out and say it publicly, right? Because you have no idea, if someone is selling a service for $1,000 a month, what percentage of that is profit. You can maybe work things out, but you don't know about their software costs, their team costs. You don't know if they outsource stuff. You don't know, if they basically just work all the hours of the day so that they save costs, right? And they make it as high profit as possible. You don't really know that. And when it comes to designing your business, if you already have a business, an agency, or you're looking to, make improvements to yours currently, then one of the biggest things that you need to care about is the actual complexity of that business. And what I mean by complexity is how many moving parts there are in that business to complete the operations from day to day, to complete the sales, complete the appointment booking, to deliver the service that you have. And so For a lot of people, they want to create some kind of consultancy program, right? And that's the reason because of this. People who have been around the block, they've run an agency, they've realized that it's super, super complex sometimes. What they want to do is create a consulting program or something where they don't actually are involved in the day-to-day running of the service delivery. And that's all well and good. But a lot of people, like myself, want to run a business where we are actually delivering on a service rather than selling information or something like that, because it's a completely different business model. Those kind of business models where you're selling information and consulting can be very, very salesy, and it's more so about actually, just going out and hard selling rather than actually delivering on a crazy product. But if you are looking to start an agency and sign clients and bring those people in and do the Facebook ads and stuff like that, then this is going to be one of your biggest considerations when it comes to actually designing the business plan. I think every single software that you have, every single team hire that you make, every single cost that you have in the business, you need to be looking in, one, can I automate this out? Can I basically just pay for a software to make it actually a little bit cheaper so I don't need to do this task, or I don't need to pay someone to do this task, or whatever it is? Or two, can I actually outsource this for a lot cheaper than I currently am doing, right? Is there a need for me to have an operations VA when I barely make 10K a month? Probably not, right? And so when you're planning out your business, you need to think about these things. And so one of the things that I've done recently with my service delivery is the way that we were delivering results for our clients has drastically become much more efficient. And so we went from having a process where we would have to hire 2 or 3 VAs for every client that we had on board, and it was super complex. We had a team where we basically, we'd have like 15 clients on board, and so we'd have like 30 people in the team. And so it'll be super complex managing all these people. All of a sudden, you wake up in the morning and someone replies to you saying that they can't work today because they have this emergency, this issue. All of these crazy things, right? Super complex, and we weren't even making all that much money, right? We were making between like 10 and 20K per month, right? And so it wasn't even like it was like super profitable or super high revenue. But now we're in a situation where we can actually onboard clients and we can actually deliver the results that we have with far overheads, far less complexity, a smaller team, all of that stuff. And so we now have the team whittled down to like just a few people, and we can do the vast majority of our work. And so the complexity has gone from like being basically sky high to the point where I'm like overworking myself. I'm like, there's always stuff going on. There's fires every single morning, to the point now where like my day is exactly the same like every single day, because the complexity has gone so incredibly low, and we now have such a streamlined vision. And we've gone from the point of making sort of like 50 to 60% profit margins to like all the way now to like 80-90%. And it's one thing that I've like sort of known about for a while, but actually putting it into practice and seeing it firsthand inside of my business is just like really opened my eyes. And it's something which I think a lot of people should be looking to do. And so every time you see someone, I make 100K, $1 million a month, whatever it is, look into the numbers and actually see things for what they are. Now, if you're making, $1 million a month, you're probably making quite a lot of profit, right? like objectively, like compared to relative people, that's a decent amount of money, okay? But when you are going into the fact, comparing this YouTuber who makes 30K a month and what kind of business model they do, and this guy who makes 50K a month, right, and what kind of business model they do, just because one person has more revenue than the other doesn't necessarily mean that person's in a better place, or they know more, or they're making more money, or they're actually they have a better business at that point. That's not even including the fact that there might be business partners, so that money might get shared 2, 3, or even 4 ways sometimes. And so once you break off the profit, then that profit's got to go 3, 4 ways sometimes. And so there's a lot of things to think about when it comes to actually building your business plan out, and how complex it really needs to be. And so I'm always making sure now that if there's anything that we need to do, like adding in a software, adding in a team member, adding in a process or anything like that, does it absolutely have to happen? Because if it doesn't, then we're simply not doing it. It's all well and good saying, we can add an extra service on for our clients here and charge them another $1,000 a month or something like that. But in actual fact, if it's going to cost me another 4 hours per week per client, if it's going to be, $800 of extra costs, is that relatively going to be worth it? Because I'm adding all this complexity on here. There's going to be so many headaches and so much, issues that come about this. Is it actually worth making that extra $200 per month? Or is it worth just like holding back, keeping the revenue a little bit lower, but my profit margin's nice and high, so I can do that process again and again and again and just focus on that one thing? And so if you do that in your business and you take learns from this and, take the learnings that I've had to go through. And here's the thing, like, I actually knew this for quite a while, and people talk about this and I've understood this, but it's not until you actually experience it yourself that you really start to understand it and you really get what people are talking about and why this is so important. And so if you can actually take these lessons before you actually go and make this mistake, then you're going to have an awful lot of benefits from this. But yeah, if you're looking for more clients for your business, first link in the description. I don't really care if you click it or not. It's just there if you want to click it. But it's literally just a video of me explaining what my company does, how we've done this many times before, and the kind of results that we've had. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.